So let's take a look at some of these JavaScript array methods, starting off with forEach. So the definition of forEach from the Mozilla Developer Network is the forEach method executes a provided function once for each array element. So looking at that definition, we already know that the goal of the forEach method is to loop through the provided array and execute whatever we want for each element in that array. So let's go ahead and type up an example right here. So we're gonna create a variable called array, and we're gonna give it in an array of like numbers. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Cool. So now that we got that, we're going to go ahead and use the forEach method on it. So array.forEach, and it takes two parameters, but the second one isn't. I don't want to talk about the second one, so let's just talk about the first one, which is the callback function. So I'm just going to do an arrow function because it looks nice, and inside this callback function, or inside this part right here for the parameters, it takes a few parameters, but we're only going to need one in this case right now, which is the current value, and we're going to name that num for number, obviously. And what we're going to return is, let's just go ahead and let's just log each number to the console. So console.log num. So as you can see right here, by the way, I'm using Quokka to actually like view any view whatever you would normally see on a console in VS Code. It's just nice to do. It's nice for you guys to look at. So if you want to know what that is, that's Quokka. But as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, every single element in this array is being logged to the console through this right here. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and check out the parameters that are available for the forEach method. So we got the usage right here, basically what I just showed you. Let's go over down here to the parameters. So the forEach method itself takes one parameter, and then the callback function takes 3 parameters. I've already showed you callback, which is the function to execute on each element of the array. The second was the current value, which is also what we used, this num right here, which is the current value being processed in the array. And then there's 2 more. The first one is index, which is the index of the current value in the array. So if I go ahead and type index, or just I guess I, and I go ahead and add actually, let me make it an array. So we can type down num, and we're going to type down I. And as you can see right here, as you can see right there, you see that first, you can see that for the first elements, the index is 0. For the second one, the index is 1. The third one, the index is 2. And for the fourth one, the index is 3. So there's that. And the last one is array, which is the array that forEach was called on. So if I go ahead and add this right here, array, right, and I go ahead and log array to the console, it's just going to log that. It's going to log the array that we called on 4 times. So if you ever need to use for the entire array, then you have that as an option. So these two parameters right here are optional. You don't have to add them. You don't have to use them. But if you ever need it, it's there. Cool. So now let's go a little deeper under the hood. Actually, I shouldn't show you this. Actually, no, whatever. So under the hood, I want to show you what for loop actually does. And never mind. I'm not even going to show you this. We're going to do this authentically. I don't know. But if we wanted to do this, I guess the vanilla JavaScript way, I don't know if it's like vanilla JavaScript. Okay, let's call it vanilla JavaScript, because forEach is already like part of JavaScript. So I'm gonna show you the vanilla. I'm gonna show you the pure way of doing it. So let's go ahead and bring that back, and let's delete this. What I'm gonna do here is So this forEach method right here, basically what it's using is a for loop. It's a basic for loop. So if I go ahead and create a for loop right here for let's just do var I equals 0. Every time I is less than the length of array, increase it by 1. So, and then what we're going to do here is console.log array. So, as you can see, this is basically what that forEach method is doing. So if I go ahead and uncomment this and kind of make this look a little bit pretty, look how much better this looks compared to this little for loop right here. It's really nice to use array methods like forEach over the traditional for loop, is because it looks a lot better. It's less code, which is prone to less errors, and it's just cleaner overall. You could use this. It's completely fine to use either or, but it's fine to use either or, and you should know how to do both. Know how to use both. Learn for loops to know the to know the core of how this works, or how loops work, and then once you understand the for loops, get into the array methods and use that for most situations. The few situations where you would want to use the for loop over a forEach is if you need to cut the the loop short. So if you ever need to use break right here, then you would have to use a traditional for loop, because forEach doesn't allow you to do that. If you're ever in a case where you need to loop through the entire array, which is most of the time, that's when you can use forEach. That's when you can use map, so on and so forth. But if you ever need to or if you ever need or want to, break, if you want to stop the whole loop short, then you're going to have to use a for loop. And maybe there are other methods to doing that, but as I know currently, or as I know right now, this is the main way to do it. So there's that. So now I want to give you a practical example of a situation where you would want to use a situation where you'd want to use forEach. And let's say that, and I'd say one good case is whenever you need to call a function on each element of an array. So let's give an example right here. Let's create like a function called log number, and we're going to make that a function that logs the parameter, or that logs whatever to the console. So like so, and then we map through array. Oh, not map. We use forEach. And why does it do this to me? There we go. So here we go. So what's going on here is so let's recap what's going on here. Up here we have a variable that has so up here we have a variable that has an array of numbers, and right over here we have a function that takes any number as a parameter, and logs that to the console. Right now, down here we are looping through that array up here, and for each array we're going to log that number to the console. So we're basically running that log number function for each element in the array and logging each element to the console. So let's take a look at the map method. So the definition of map from the Mozilla Developer Network is map is a method that creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. So the main difference between map and forEach is that forEach doesn't return anything, but map returns something. Map returns a duplication of the array. As we can see from the goal right here, the goal is creates a new array by looping through the provided array. So what does this really mean? This means that as map traverses through the array and we run that the provided function or the provided execution for each element in that array, whatever gets returned gets added to that new that new array. So let's go ahead and create an example right here. So we're just going to do the let's array equals just an array of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, let's go ahead and do array.map, and only needs one parameter for now. And what we're going to do is we are going to, I can't really log to the console, so what I'm going to do is, return number. So let's go ahead and return the number, and let's actually put this inside of a variable. So we're going to call it, const nums, and then we're going to log this to the console. So as you can see, all we did was return the current value in each index of the array. So what if I wanted to just go ahead and add a 1 to each value, then hey, look, 2, 3, 4, 5. The great thing about map is that it doesn't mutate the original array, and you're creating a copy, so you can map through the array, return whatever you want, and create a duplicate with the not mutated, but create a new array. So that's cool. Now let's get into the parameters. So the parameters of array map. So the main one is the callback function, and then inside that and for the parameters of that callback function, it's going to be, so the first one is current value. So current value is the current value being processed in the array. So as the map loops, this current value is going to change. First time it's going to be the first index in the array, after that the second, so on and so forth. And then these two over here are optional. So this one is index. So if I go ahead and add index right here, I'll just shorten it I. And what can I do here? I don't think this will work out, but let's try it out. No, of course it's not going to work. So if I go ahead and console log I right here, you see the index of the elements in each iteration. And the last one is array, which is the array that map was called on. So in this case, if I added array, then it would just show it's just basically the array that you called map on. So there's that. Now what I want to do is I want to show you how map actually works under the hood. And just like I mentioned in the forEach video, if you haven't seen that, again, I have it in the info card above. What it does is it uses a basic for loop. So let me go ahead. So it uses a basic, just like forEach, it uses a basic for loop, but the difference is map creates a new array. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that right now. So let's create a variable called, new array, and make that just like an empty array. And in here, down here, let us do a for loop. So for let I equals 0. Let's just make that var. Every time I is less than array.length, I plus plus, right? So basically what this is going to do is it's going to loop for the length of this array, and every iteration you can do whatever you want, just like, you know, with map. So in here, what we're going to want to do is, what did I do down here? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to target this array right here, and we're going to want to put whatever we want or append in elements to the end of that array in each iteration. So how we're going to do that is we are going to target new array and then have the brackets. And you know how normally, like, if you want to target like an index of an array, you would do like 1, 2, 3 or something like that. Or in this this loop right here, what we're going to do is we want to append this to like the end of the array. So what we're going to do is we're going to do new, or is it new array.length, or no, array.length. So for the yeah, so the length of this array is always going to be 4, so it's going to keep appending that new elements. It's going to append the new element to the end of the array each iteration. And then we're going to equal that to whatever we want to do. So if we want to, I don't know, add high, we could do that. So if I go ahead and save that in console.log new array, it's going to do that. That's not good. So I actually messed up. It's just error on my part. I'm dumb. Yeah, so to recap, new array for the current index that we're on right now in this for loop, it's going to insert whatever we want in here. So in this case, it's going to be the first index, or it's going to be the index for wherever we're at in that loop sequence. So for the first one, it's going to be 1 plus 1 is 2, and then for the second one, it's going to be 2 plus 1 is 3, so on and so forth. And yeah, our new when we log our new array to the console, then what we're going to see is this array of numbers 2, 3, 4, 5. Original one was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I want to demonstrate like a practical use of map, and I'd say a good use case is if you have like an array of objects and you only want one specific property from that object. Let's go ahead and create an array called, let's create a characters array. Equals true, and then I don't know, let's just do like 3. So name, so for the first one, name, let's make it Spike Spiegel. I probably misspelled that name. So let's say we had an array of objects, and each object has a name and an age, and you just wanted the name from each elements or each object in that array. But you do not want to mutate the original array. You just want a copy of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do, let's actually put this in a variable. So const character names. And we're going to do characters.map. And then for each character, yeah, that's right. Return, so for each character, for each character, what we want is the name. So we're gonna turn char.name, and then down here, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna char names. Cool. So let me just go ahead and bring this out a little bit. Cool. So to recap what we just did, we have an array of characters, or we have an array of objects. Each object is a character with a name and an age, and we just wanted to get the character names, but at the same time, we didn't want to mutate the original array. So what we did was we mapped through the characters array, And for each character, we just took the name. And all of this is in its own array inside this variable, and then I just log this to the console right here to show you. So there you go. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.